Hi. So I just wanted to touch base with you on the Cardon Carpet case that you just completed. Um, the case that I assigned the case because it has a significant amount of information about channel and channel choices. And channel choices are a key part of marketing, but they're also a very much of a key part of logistics. So usually channel decisions in any organization are made both by the marketing department, but in conjunction with the logistics department. So I would expect that in your future business lives, you will get involved in these kinds of decisions. And when you look at the Cardon Carpet case, you can see how complicated it is. It's a difficult process to figure out where you need to have your product sold and how you need to get it to market. So Cardon Carpet has a legacy system, which makes it even harder. They have an existing system that they have to use as it is, and if they want to change, they have to somehow manage to maintain the existing system until the new system is operational. And that's really, really difficult. In the case, most of you reacted to the wholesaler who called up and said, "We're all going to drop your product if you open your own warehouse or warehouses. So if you experiment with this new warehousing thing, we're going to drop your product." That's a pretty common threat by channel members who are threatened by another channel member, in this case their supplier. You're going to open a new channel of distribution which is going to compete with me, so therefore I don't trust you anymore and I'm going to drop your product. That may or may not be possible for the channel member to do, and that analysis has to be done to figure out whether it's possible. Certainly they want to drop your product, they want to hurt you because you've hurt them or you're potentially going to hurt them, but that's not necessarily the whole picture. So they may not be able to. Dropping it may hurt them more than it hurts you, so they may not do so. That's a decision you have to make and a risk you have to take. The second thing is that these channel decisions do indeed create conflict within the channels, and you have to do what's best for your organization, whether you're one of the intermediaries or whether you're the supplier, as is Cardon Carpet. You can see that in the case they talk about Shaw having made a channel decision to go direct, to open their own retail stores and go direct, and sell carpet directly to the consumer without going through either wholesale or retail intermediaries. So Shaw tried this. They then abandoned it when one of their largest customers, Home Depot, said, "Well, you're going to do that, then you can just take your goods right out of our store. We're not going to sell your goods anymore because we're competing with you directly." Yet in that same industry, other people have been successful doing that. If you look at Sherwin-Williams sells their paints direct. They have their own stores, and they're a very, very successful company selling their paints direct. So they've chosen a channel structure where they have their own company stores that sell paint direct to the consumer. They don't go through wholesalers, they don't go through retailers, they go direct. One of their major competitors, Benjamin Williams, has chosen a different route. They've chosen specialty store only distribution. So they've avoided the big box stores, said we're going to sell to the specialty paint stores and the specialty hardware stores. We're not going to sell to big box stores. And other paint companies have embraced the big box, Home Depot kind of, Lowe's kind of stores. So you've got three different kinds of channel structures in paint, which isn't all that different a product from carpet. So there are lots of options, but changing from what you're doing to something new is always risky extremely risky. And most of you came up with the conclusion that it didn't make sense to change. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more use of metrics in that decision. What was it actually going to, what would we have to generate? What would our break-even point be going to a new structure? And I did attach to each of your case studies a little Excel sheet that I put together, just looking at where's the break-even point on opening a new warehouse. How does this look? And I think you needed that in your case. It pretty much reinforced what most of the decision that most of you came up with, that it didn't make sense for them to open their own distribution centers. But it would have been a lot more helpful as a manager if you presented that to me with some data, as opposed to just saying it doesn't look like it'll work. So the sheet looked like this. I guess I can't change the size of that box now that we're in the recording, but the sheet looks like this. So total sales for Cardon Carpet to their wholesale channels are 75 million. Total Cardon Carpet sales are 75 million. 72% is of those sales go through wholesalers. The balance, the 28% is sold direct to contract customers. So $54 million is going through wholesalers. They have 7 wholesalers. So on average, wholesalers are purchasing $7.7 million worth of product from each wholesaler is purchasing $7.7 million from Cardon Carpet. Wholesaler sales to retailers are 125% of that number. So their sales are 9.6 of Cardon Carpet are 9.6 million. The potential profit, the 7.7 minus the 9.6. For the distribution channel that we may be able to capture by eliminating wholesalers is around $2 million, slightly less than $2 million. And we're spending $460,000 of our money to service those wholesalers. So the total available margin, if you will, to be captured would be $2.4 million. So that's the number that we're chasing by eliminating wholesalers. Now, there were some other things in there. By eliminating wholesalers, we thought we could get a more focused and targeted sales force who was only selling our product, not selling other products as well. So we would have a more focused and targeted sales force, but we'd also have a sales force that didn't know the customer base. So we'd also be dealing with the risk of losing customers because we didn't have connections with them. And there's other risks as well. But from a number standpoint, we got a $2.4 million chunk of money out there that we're paying either to the wholesalers or to service the wholesalers. The cost to open a new warehouse, they said you need to do $7 million of sales, and I think all of you accepted that number is valid. I always question numbers that are thrown out there and say, oh, well, we're going to break even, or we need 7 million to break even, or whatever. Where'd that number come from? Well, in the case, they gave you all the numbers, and you could calculate that break even number. So they told you the fixed costs of opening a warehouse was $700,000. They told you what you had to pay for sales reps and managers. They told you what a sales administrator was going to cost. So those are all fixed costs. And it's $1.6 million per warehouse. Then they told you the variable costs, 4% of sales for transportation, inventory costs, and many of you tried to do this and didn't get this quite right, but I understand this isn't an accounting course, so you may not have gotten that exactly correct, but inventory costs, they said it's 10% to carry inventory, but they also told you that there were 4 turns and they'd like to see, though the wholesalers were doing 5 turns, but they'd like to take that to 4 turns, thereby having more goods on hand. So I used 4 turns for my calculation. So that's 2.5% of costs of sales, or 2% of sales. So we're going to use the 2% number. Accounts receivable, 10% of average accounts receivable. They told you that of receivables are outstanding for 90 days. So we can calculate that as well at 2.5%. And then we're going to lose that 4.8%, this number up here, of the 6% or 4.8% of sales to service the wholesale accounts. Those are going away. So I've taken that 6% and turned it into a 4.8% of our ultimate sale price, the 125% more. So the net variable costs are 3.7%. We have a gross margin of 20 less variable costs at 3.7, 16.3% contribution margin, and break-even fixed costs divided by the contribution margin equals 9,791,000. So our break-even to operate warehouses is not 7 million, it's 9.8 million. And that's a big difference, and that's something that we need to do. That's break even based on what we're doing now going forward. So I think you need to look at that, understand that, and whenever you're doing a case study, and you all avoided this in all the case studies we did, to a certain extent anyway, you need to use the numbers you're given. You can't just shoot from the hip. Take the numbers you're given, do a small amount of analysis, just break-even analysis, pretty easy stuff to do, and do that before you make decisions, because obviously the more data you have, the better off you are. So that covers it for what I wanted to say about Cardon Carpet. I want to thank you all for a good semester. Maybe I'll see some of you in the future. I do teach the accounting course in the grad program, so if you're going to take that next semester or sometime in the future, I may see you again. It's been a pleasure teaching you this semester, and I hope everything goes well for you going forward. And hopefully, I hope you've learned something from the experience. Finally, if you haven't already, I would appreciate it if you would do the student evaluations you've been notified about. It's important for the school and for me to see those. It's how I judge whether what I'm doing is working or not, and what I can do to change and make it better. I won't see anything that you post to that until after you've already been graded, so you don't have to worry about hurting my feelings or hurting your grade. And please pull that together. I probably won't be talking to you again now, so hope you all have good holidays, and if you haven't already taken the test, good luck on your final exam in this, or your second quest in this course. Thanks very much, and bye.